Hi, everybody. Welcome back to The Human Challenge, where we explore all of the human challenges in today's world, the challenges of being human, and how we can challenge ourselves to be more human for the greater good. I'm your host, Vanessa Ferlano, and today we are joined by Moroccan Yemeni independent artist, singer, songwriter, and film producer, Aya, who has two really fascinating and exciting shows coming up in Berlin, February 8th and 9th. Beautiful ensemble of string, piano, and drama, because she just feels like being dramatic. As I was told, and not my words. And we'll also be releasing February 9th at midnight her new single Greenlights. Very excited to have you here, Aya, and I've loved learning about your story. So thank you for considering the 6-hour time change, because I know
Oh,
it's
no.
late.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And actually quite excited to do something late night. I wasn't doing so much work lately and not getting so much sleep, so I'm happy. Like at least I do something meaningful. Just
Well, thank you. No, that's great. I'm really happy to have you here. I wanted to ask you, like, first of all, I mean, your story when you sent it to me, I was just, it's so powerful, and so I'm very excited to have you here and to hold that space and for you to share it because it's incredible. But before we do, I wanted you to tell us a little bit about your music because you redefined a new category of music, and I absolutely loved it. So please share with us just a little bit.
yeah, I mean, like I was struggling a lot with describing like what do I do, which kind of music I do. I felt like when I say pop or R&B, like I really like I mean, I'm always using a lot of like instrumentals and classic and Arabic classic and different kind of genres and really mixing too many things. So I just decided to call it like Arab&B, and now I have my own genre, and hopefully it will take over at some point.
I love that. I love that so much. I think that's
And
fantastic, and I hope it takes over too because I mean I think I've been listening to a
well,
lot of your
no?
stuff. It's great. It's great, and your music is fantastic. I know that you had a piece uploaded to promote your show coming up, the piano and string quartet, and I listened to that piece, and I was telling you earlier, like I honestly. I was doing something and I actually had to stop and just like feel it. I was like, I need to just feel this music right now because it was just so powerful. And I think there are artists who play music, but then there are artists who like are their music. And I was just
Yeah.
like, that's how I feel like listening to a lot of your stuff. I'm like, wow, because it's very powerful and it's really beautiful. And so I hope it takes over.
Thank you so much. Have to say that like I didn't do it alone. I have a lot of musicians on board that's like supporting me so many years with different kinds of budget, if there were any budget. So shout out to my team for
Oh,
all the hard work that they do and believing in me. It's
oh
really
no,
not just me.
it's definitely, yeah. And it's always takes an army, I guess, is the saying. There's always tons of things happening. No, I think,
Yeah,
yeah, it really is like it's all very powerful, and so I'm very excited for you, very excited for this show. If I
thank
can
you.
be in Berlin, I would be there. I'm not
Oh,
sure I
I
can be.
will.
I would love to, but I'm sure it will go really, really well. I
Literally
know.
the other side of the world.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yes, exactly. It's a bit of a drive. um, no, I know from your shows that you tend to do. I remember, I think from like all your shows, you do something a little different each show, right? Like it's never something's the
trying.
same, and I think you keep it pretty. Is local the right word? Like not really local, but I know that you tend to engage with different groups. I think is that correct for your
Yeah,
shows?
yeah. I really like to, I don't know, sometimes even 10 minutes before the show, I'm like, oh, what I need to change something. Like, I really like to keep myself surprised and to keep the people around me surprised. And they sometimes they learned with time to just accept me, and it's really helping us because sometimes we sing the same song for like
Yeah,
again and again and again, and every time I like that it's a tiny bit different.
yeah,
And a lot of times the budget is just not enough if like people pay you, so sometimes it's not enough. It's just like for me, for one player, manager, booking, transportation, blah, 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 it's already gone. And I'm lucky to have a lot of players that like really just want to play and make music. So managing to bring like huge groups of people together to play. And this time I'm gonna play with the string quartet, that it's amazing woman, like four incredible women that I already played with in March, and the pianist that also the string arranger for many years with me. I always can call him and I'm like, hey, like I have this new idea. I want it to be like this. I can say like purple with butterfly, and he will understand me. You know? Like, that's the way we speak. I never study music, so it's just
Right.
like all about emotions, and yeah,
And
they feel
express.
me. They feel me.
Yeah.
I think
No,
so.
and that's artistry, right? There's no language for artistry. Like it's
We have
just,
this language.
yeah.
It's music. It's so universal,
Yeah.
and it's really the only thing that like everybody can hear and feel. You can really like get inside the veins of people and
Mm.
influence from the inside.
Yeah. No, 100%. And like I said earlier, I think your music really does that, yeah,
Thank
I
you.
absolutely love it. I wanted us to talk a little bit about your background because it's so interesting, Moroccan Yemeni, and so I would love for you to share a bit about your journey, your story.
Yeah.
And yeah, because it's like, I mean, yeah, wow. I've read it a couple times
I
since you
see.
sent it to me, and every time I just feel like I'm still like, wow, because like where you came from and like how you're in Berlin, like that whole, like it's crazy. So we'll start where you want, and then we'll go from there.
From where to start? Like sometimes I feel like why like I need to do something with all of it. If all this journey wouldn't make me money, you know, like, that's really, I hope it will make sense, and because it's a lot of hustle and a lot of meeting amazing people and awful people, like, and I don't like to say there are bad people. I like to say like there are people who like it's bad for them, kind
Mm.
of. But yeah, I had different journey, and mostly like I feel like I always describe myself as a nomad because I always like with this like I want to have a home, but as soon as I have something stable, I want to shake it, and it's kind of like this feeling that you always need to be on the move. Though my passport is super limited, so even if I want. But yeah, so I'm originally I'm from Israel-Palestine. I grew up in the desert of Israel. It's called Arad. It's like very, very tiny town that everybody knows everyone, and there's gossips, and the doors are open, and you can go to the neighbor. Like, it's very everybody family kind of thing.
Hmm.
Everyone knows everyone, and I grew up there. We had like sky full of stars and landscapes and nothingness. But also you were so rich because you have all this spirit with you, and the weather is like 40 degrees in the day, and at night it's cold and crazy moon. So yeah, I grew up there with my mom and my siblings. I'm the youngest, and it was very difficult because my mom was working all the time to provide for us. She got divorced from my father. She got married twice. The first time with an abusive man, and the second time with an abusive. What leads her to very difficult journey when we had to kind of like start working very young age to to bring money to the table because there was no other way. A lot of debt and a lot of circles of loans. So yeah, we all started working at a very young age and falling apart from each other because it was too difficult. Also, it's like a boiling pot.
Hmm.
And like now we got to a point that we are not really communicating at all with each other because it's so painful. Like a lot of things are still like in the process. And my journey right now in the past years is just to learn more about who I am, where I'm coming from, what are my traumas, and how did I do it. Like I'm also asking myself, like in this, I'm learning that everything is my parents, and and this is all the time this circle. And yeah, so I grew up like this, and I was going every second week to my father, where there I was experiencing a lot of abuse. That it took me a lot of time to get out of it, and also I felt like there's not really way to get out of it because there was a lot of fear involved. But at some point, like I took a decision and I just ran away from everything and everyone, and I started my own like independent life in a really young age. I moved to the center, basically to an area of Tel Aviv, and now when I was 12, and yeah, like since then I remember myself always working,
Mm-hmm.
till today, just like no option to have time off or uh, yeah, still stuck in this circle. I hope I will break it.
So this was at 12. So at 12 years old, you were in Tel Aviv and you were by yourself at that point. Like you'd left on your
Yeah,
own?
at the beginning I was by myself. I was with my brother uh, as well. He took care a lot of us. He was like, today I think he's like around 50 years old. So when I was a kid, like he was like kind of like a father
Mm-hmm.
figure, but also very good looking, and he was a stripper, and
Oh,
also it came with a lot of women around him. And I was all the time like, just getting to know the woman. And one woman taught me how to belly dance, one woman taught me how to this, one woman taught. I was always surrounded by amazing women that kind of helped the situation and saved me. Another woman offered me like to do babysitting in a very young age, so I earned like, I don't know, it was a lot of money for per hour in this kind of age, and slowly got back to school and finished school and managed to. I always had like women in my life that just hold me and yeah, and helped me also to get out of the situation with my father. And because when I was approaching with it to my mother, there was a lot of fear, and even the police didn't help,
mm-hmm.
so
And so this was this was at the age of 12. Yeah, I mean, I think I think like women relationships, are always so powerful ones, very, very important ones to have. And I think especially at a young age like that, especially in a young age when there's so much of that sort of trauma,
yeah,
like it is, it is a very powerful, I think, dynamic that I don't think is really talked about as much. The
yeah,
importance of women of that sort of friendship, especially when there's big trauma like that, because you kind of need that. You need that whatever's kind of behind a female, like that feminine energy, right? Like you need that
this
when you're
voice.
going through trauma, right? Like you need that compassion, all those traits. You need that in those times, and I think that largely does come from a lot of our feminine friendships and relationships.
Yeah, and a lot of time at home, there's a lot of shame, especially if you come from a religion family, for example.
Mm-hmm.
I never spoke about sex. It's nuts.
Yeah.
Like you a whore.
Yeah.
There's no. respect in it, or so everything has to happen secretly. And then you start in having like I think I had the two realities from very, very young age, because I was like living in Arad, in my hometown, like completely independent. My mom was at work and all the time, and we grew up in the streets. Like, we did whatever we want. We started smoking and drinking, and bored kids trying to maintain living. And then I was going in the weekends to my father, like getting dressed from head to toe with jewelries and like my little Torah book, and being like a good kid and trying to memorize what I did this week, all the lies,
Yeah.
and then and it really fucked me up. Like I was like really lying a lot, because nothing, at some point I was lying on, like, you would ask me how do I feel, and I would say like something,
Yeah.
and it took me a lot of time to work on it, and
Yeah, and I mean, you're kind of living in two worlds at that point too, right? And that's very hard, I think, as a child, because there's no stability, right? And I think
you
that's
cannot go to your parents.
yeah,
So all these connections with other women that are a mother or helped me to, it was like one voice that I could follow. A lot of teachers, amazing teachers, and
but I think at one point you were reconnected with your family, I think, right? At
yeah.
the age of 13, I think.
Yeah, we got to, my mom decided to move to the center. It was hard for her that all the kids are here, and she was like, and we were trying to kind of have like just one apartment, 2 rooms for like, we were 4, and trying to live together. Then we had like a really dramatic accident of my sister, and that again flipped us, and my father was all the time following me in the streets, and we're putting more fear, like, and now we weren't so far away. Now we both were in the center, and he's a taxi driver, so he always like, I there was a point that I was knowing the sound of the car when it's got close to me. I literally, till today, I have like I know exactly how this car sounds, and took me a long time to stop looking back, like, looking beyond my shoulder. Yeah, I think that's one of the best things that happened when I moved to Berlin, because it was till very old age, like obsession after me. So yeah, we
And
got
then
connected. We had this accident that really like turned everything upside down. We got into again like loans and hard financial situation, all day in hospitals, recovery, schools that not understanding the situation. Yeah, and then again we broke apart. And my mom was always suffering from depression, anorexia, and different kind of things. She's very powerful and amazing woman. Yeah, nothing to say about this woman. But this was the situation, So yeah, she did her best, and I tried to do my best, and we all did our best.
yeah, I mean, I think that's everyone, right? Like, we're all
Yeah,
human, and we're all
yeah.
always just doing our best and trying to figure it out. So you mentioned that the schools were not very understanding of this situation. So did you have to? I think you had to leave school. Is that correct? And then, but you were able to graduate a little bit later. Is that what happened?
Just for really short while I got back. Like it was I was very loving, like, to study, and I really like whoever didn't understand was more from the direction of my sister's school. She was older than me. Like this, wherever I was in school, I never had any problem. Like I was always like the teachers understood me. I was always honest with them about the situations at home, and I got a lot of times, like, even I could get out after earlier, or like certain kind of help in different kind of things. Like, so school was a safe space for me somehow.
And so at what point, like, where did your artistry, your creativity, where did that come from? Did that come from school, or was that stuff outside of school?
So I think that's the only thing that's really hard for me, that like this whole music came completely from my father's side. That this is
Oh,
like
wow.
what I'm speaking about it in my music, that like even if I want to disconnect, is literally in my blood, and like, yeah, in my veins. And so yeah, my father is very amazing singer. His brother is also a pretty known composer and writer, and they're Moroccan, so like we always had like this music and energy and drums and like celebrations, and like we were driving, so all the time like knocking and tapping on the, in the car, and he was like all the time a lot of music, like fireworks and different kinds of um, Israeli music and Arab music, and oh, so much. I consume a lot of music from his side. We were riding a lot in this car. Like sometimes I was working with him, night shifts, and I was a kid. I was sitting in the car, and people come and go, and we take them, and like I was all the time. He was all the time like, yeah, one more ride and then we go, one more ride and then we go, and then like we are just traveling. Like, so when we were with people in the car, it was the safest because we couldn't do anything to me,
Right.
So I was kind of happy like to do that and listen to music, and this is the moments that we share, that I have to be thankful. All the rest was hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I appreciate your like openness about that. But I think also this ability to kind of hold space. It was hell, but I'm grateful still. You know what I mean? And because I think that's very hard to do sometimes. And so like I think it's very, like, for me, sitting here and listening, and just I'm like, that's a really great reminder. I think that you can still cherish other things in a way that doesn't deny a reality that wasn't helpful either, right? Do you know what I mean? Or that wasn't
Yeah.
supportive, or that wasn't, or that was hell.
Yeah, I think also, like, at the end of the day, I can say terrible things about him, but at the end of the day, like, of course I love him, and of course, like, um I think this kind of love and hate relationship, it's something that only like abuser and like you can understand, only if you really had this kind of relationship, that it's kind of, you're locked there forever kind of thing, and you cannot be mad. And yeah, it's interesting, especially when there is violent and harassment and stuff like that. So yeah, but like the other option is to just live all my life with this kind of energy that I hate him, and like
Right.
be mad. That doesn't help me to heal. So I have to find the glimpse of light for me.
Yeah.
Because I think like for so many years I was ashamed to even speak about it, and who I am. And yeah, so I'm practicing acceptance.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. Um,
Yeah.
I hear that a lot. I really do. And yeah, I kind of hope that all our listeners will just kind of take that in for a moment, because I think that's a very powerful statement and a very powerful concept.
Still learning. there's a lot of I think the whole relationship I have with myself because of the abuse is a lot of hate towards myself, and a lot of first thing that you think about yourself is bad, and kind of and I always blame myself. I always like think that people angry about me, and before they even tell me that they're angry about me, I already try to satisfy them.
Mm-hmm.
And solve everything for everyone. Just don't be mad on me. Just always be. And I think like I hope that this year like I will be more like, yo, you can be mad on me. you know,
Yeah.
like you can be mad on me, and I can make mistakes, and I don't have to solve everything for everyone, and I don't have to be this good kid anymore.
Right. I appreciate that 100%. I think that's another very important, I think, learning for everybody, and for anyone, that, yeah, acceptance is that, that allowance for, if you're upset with me, that's fine. You know what I mean? Like allowing for that, accepting that, because I think it's really, that in itself is kind of an act of like honoring our own experiences, our own emotions, our own feelings, right? Like we're allowing for those things to be true. And I think something that you said earlier before we went, like before we started recording, and you said, now I forget, which is horrible, but it was so great. It'll come back to me.
It
But
will.
you were, I think, because it's along the lines of like, it's like we're honoring our experiences, and I think it's really about just not denying yourself that as well, right? Because those things, when you were saying about multiple realities can be true, right? And
Yeah.
that's exactly it, right? When you're allowing for that, when you honor that, you're just allowing for these multiple realities to be true. And I
Yeah.
think that's a really beautiful way to hold space with people.
And also you don't have to react, like me finding solutions all the time for everything is just make you restless, and you're not really thinking about the consequences of what will happen. You just want to put a plaster and another plaster and another plaster, and this is just, it doesn't work for a long time,
Right.
So I think the
Absolutely.
more like you are really taking care of it and really like looking every day deep on the scar, and then you can see like it's healing,
Right. Right. I really appreciate that, and I really hope everyone kind of lets these words sink in a little bit, because I
Thank you.
think they're very powerful. It really is. Um, I want to kind of continue on the Sega, the Aya Sega, because
Yeah.
it's so. So you once what happened after you finished high school? Where did your journey take you after high school?
So right after high school, I got during this last year of high school, you already start like doing all these tests and for the army basically, because it's mandatory. And for women it's 2 years, for men it's 3 years, and there's always like option to stay longer basically, but you have to do 2 years as a woman. So I already started like having all these tests. That these tests are like physical and also mental, or like brain group test and things like that. And then you get like a score, and usually it's even like your score depending even if your parents are divorced, for example. So I had like really low score because I have asthma. My parents are divorced. Like I had all the shit to be in the bottom of the scale, but I was really good student. So I was like trying I was thinking, okay, maybe I wanted all the time to be a vet or like a doctor. So there was like a journey, a route in the army that you can basically study first for 4 years, and then you go to the army. and then you do another few years, and then basically you are serving very, very long time in the army, but you get like education. What for someone from my background can be very good, because like I get education for free. Like it's not for free where I'm coming from, right? You pay for everything. And so it was kind of like, okay, if I wanna, study something, this is a way. So I was trying to go in this route and see like what's my possibilities. And parallel, I was also like doing auditions to like an army band. So basically, in the service, you entertaining, especially in wartime, that is basically every year, in different kinds of areas, soldiers or families that like are in the shelters most of the day, and or different kind of ceremonies, official army ceremonies. So I was doing also auditions for that, and then I got accepted for that. And not a lot of people get accepted every year. And yeah, I remember I called my mother and I was like, Mom, what to do? Like, she said, I know you want to be a doctor, because that's what I wanted to do. Yeah. But maybe you do it later. Maybe go have fun. Maybe go have fun, like make music. And after that, you can go study. Like you will find a way. Yeah, I think that fucked me up for the rest of my. No, I'm joking. I'm kind of blessed, because for me, the experience of, I don't know, like some people having really good time in the army, and I cannot judge them. Like this is each person, it's their journey, but for me, nothing made sense over there, and it was very, very hard for me to, from a lot of reasons, from different kinds of traumas. And like I was performing 300 shows a year, and I was needed also to work, to maintain living, and I didn't have a home to go back to, because and nothing, like I didn't feel good with anything that happened there, and I was complaining a lot. It was very hard to make me shut up, and when you don't shut up in this kind of spaces, you get punishment. And if you get punished, like it's basically like, yeah, like a snowball,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, at some point I really, really wanted to get out, and I was like, saying like that I want to die. This was mostly my feeling. That I'm trying like to say it less, but a lot of time I feel like this. So this is, but I don't know. Suicidal thoughts is part of my brain. So
Yeah.
but I'm trying more to work with it and not against it. But I really wanted to die, and then I managed to. They gave me some help in the system, and the help wasn't so very helpful. It somehow I managed to finish these 2 years.
So you were dealing with all that while you were, because I think you were you were basically on the road, right? You had to perform all these shows to entertain the families and soldiers of the army, and then you were also, and so then, because I remember you saying there was a term that you used, I think that you were almost considered like a lone soldier, right? Because you had ability to work,
lone soldier. Yeah.
But also because you had the ability to work outside of that job of being part of the entertainment, right? You were able to work outside of that, so you were dealing with all those things at the same time. Plus, you had to move place to place for shows, and then I remember you
we're
mentioning
talking about driving for 6 hours directions, and with buses, being stuck in different areas alone by yourself, sometimes with another player. Like there were shows that I played with 40 musicians. That was amazing experience, obviously, because you're a lot of people and there's rehearsals. But this kind of shows you have 1-2 times a year. most of the shows, it's like you've been sent alone to sing one song, and it's not that I'm trying to say like I'm lazy. It's just like I'm like, with all the traumas that I went through,
Yeah.
with being in the streets for so much time, like I know how like it's not easy for me to do these things, like, and a lot of times, like, I'm getting so overwhelmed from the anxiety, even if I sit and wait in the dark in a main street, not in a main street, like in a highway,
Yeah.
in a bus stations, and I need to wait. I don't know, there's no even a sign when the bus is coming, so I'm getting very overwhelmed, and I can really lose my sanity
Yeah.
from the trauma, and these things I didn't know back then. So you're just like,
Yeah.
and when you don't have the environment to understand what you went through and how this infecting on your life, on your surroundings, so then it's very hard to do these things. And yeah.
Right. No, I appreciate that a lot, and that was kind of why, like, and I mean, yeah, I was certainly not suggesting you were, lazy in any way, but I mean, it's just surprising to me to hear like all these things you were dealing with, and then on top of that, you weren't able to get the support that you had needed to go through, that you needed during those times. And then I'm also, I also just kind of wanted to hold space for a second here, just regarding some of the more, like the challenging thoughts, those darker thoughts. I also don't want to like glaze over that, because I think that's, that's tough, right? That's tough. It's tough to be young and having to experience all those things in the specific environment that you're describing,
Yeah.
and so, I'm grateful that you were open enough and comfortable sharing that, because I like, that's a lot, I think, for any child, for any person. And then I think it's a lot to sometimes revisit those sort of those
Yeah.
memories and those expressions again. So so I just kind of wanted to like hold space, and yeah,
Thank you. And thank
so I
you so
appreciate
much.
it.
And I think like there's a lot of people who feeling the way I feel. And I just want to try to help to normalize it a bit, because like when you hear this kind of things from such a young age, like that you are bad and you deserve to die, or I will kill you if you won't do that. Like, I will kill you if you won't do that. Like, and so that's how you think. Like this,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah,
Um,
it's conditioning, right? You're being
yeah,
told that
it's
for
walking
someone
with you
else's
all your
gain.
life.
Yeah.
It's like really, I'm sometimes getting into spaces as an adult,
Yeah.
and my inner child come to visit,
Yeah.
and then all the scenarios are in my head. And I always tell my therapist, stop, make me feel like, I always tell her, like, stop, I know the world. Like you always said, like, in your head, the drama, there is like the big drama, and then in reality is maybe a bit different. I don't know. And I'm like, yeah, but if I walk here, like, someone can do this to me. And if I walk here, someone can do this to me.
Yeah.
And because I already experienced it. So you cannot tell me that it's not true, or like it's not possible. But she trying to kind of like help me to live, because I'm not going out, and I'm very still afraid of walking in the streets. And
Yeah.
all the time, like, walking, holding this pain and fear, and just walking with it and trying to be
Yeah.
normal.
Yeah.
But
No,
normal.
yeah, that's very hard, and I know. I mean, now you're in, like, you're in Berlin now, but I think to carry that, and this was you've been in Berlin for, I think, 4 years, and so this experience, like, you specifically being in the army, was more than 10 years ago, I think, correct? Oh no, it was about 10 years ago now. It would have been.
Yeah.
So I'd like to hold all of that. Yeah, I'd like to hold all of that, and then, and I know we'll get to a little bit more about what Berlin has meant to you, but to get to that, to spend so much time in one particular environment, move to a new space where there's that freedom, that security, that safety, yeah, that old stuff doesn't go away, right? And so having to like process it so much later and still having to work with it and still learning how to work with it, and how to honor it, right? Like we were talking about earlier. You know, I definitely can say from my own experiences, I definitely have had very similar, just very, you know, in my own journey, like definitely different contexts, but, you know, having to go through the same, how do I understand my trauma, who I've been told I am versus who I actually am, and what's the relationship between those two people? It's me, but it's not me. Like, it's a lot to sort through. And so, you know, I think just moving through it with grace is the best, well, it's the only thing you really can do, right? But I mean, it's not always easy for sure. So I appreciate that as well.
And also, like, just understanding that it's all transitions.
Yeah.
Like, we are nature. We're not beyond it.
Yeah.
And not, like, and that's, I think, the confusion.
Mm.
You know, when you are thinking that you are above nature, when you are literally can be washed by a tsunami any second. And then, like, and just remember that you die and you become a mushroom. So, like, just remember that this is like a very simple cycle, and as a butterfly that has like transitions, we are also have transitions, and what I was and who I am, it's all me. Different kind of influences, like, you know, like sometimes I have to blend. Sometimes I can be more me, like just like trying to more not canceling all my transitions, even though I hate them sometimes.
Yeah. You know, I love that perspective a lot. Yeah, love that perspective a lot. And I also want that to sink in with anyone who's listening or watching, because I think, yeah, I think that's also very, very powerful. I wasn't kidding. When I said in the beginning, I was like, your story is powerful. Like, that was not a joke. Like, I mean, it really is. And so, okay, so you were in the army, and I mean, I guess I'm kind of curious if you're comfortable answering, because I think your perspective is very interesting, because you're someone who, you know, for example, when you first opened, you said you were born in Israel-Palestine, right? So you have this acknowledgement of Palestine, but you also served in the Israeli army. And so I'm very curious, like, just given the current context, the current aggression, what's happening, if you're comfortable sharing, like, how, like, I feel like, because you kind of sit in the middle is sort of how I observe it, and you can obviously tell if I'm wrong, but it's like I can imagine that being a very conflicting place to be in.
Yeah. First of all, I want to make sure that people understand that serving in an army is a mandatory thing. It's not easy to get out. Like, people think, like, yeah, it's just don't want. You go to jail, and after you go to jail, you won't be able to work in certain kinds of work, like, or it's like a stain, and there's a lot of fear involved, and there's a lot of social pressure. When you're 18, you don't really know shit. And everybody around you, like, some people are years under this pressure of, like, security, and we need security, we need to, you know, we need security, we need the IDF, you know, like, you have to go because you need to present the family, and there's a lot of pressure on kids, you know, and then you get the gun to your hands, and like and some kids, you know, they like guns. Like, you see it, I work with kids all the time, they come into me, pew pew, I kill you, like, you know, like, it's just, I think it's like very similar. And so just to understand that, like, a lot of people judge the IDF like it's something that you choose in and you go, like, some people, yeah, for sure, but some people not. And some people are there. I know I have some friends that are there that I know that they don't want, you know, like, and it's difficult. And they have very bad conditions. Yeah, so just to put this, not that I'm trying to promote it or support it. It's just like not sexy and not something that it's easy to get out of. And for me, like to be, for me, when I say I'm from Israel-Palestine, I always said it because I want to make sure that people understand that I see them. If someone wants to judge me because I see, and my eyes are open and my ears and my heart and my arms, so yeah, I prefer to die like this. So for me, I think like a lot of people, I also experience it here in Berlin and also experience it in with my Israeli friends. They never met a Palestinian person in a some of them didn't even meet. Some of them met just in the army situation that is like definitely not the same, position and the power position. And I was lucky. I was like grew up very traditional Arabic environment. Their language was part of my life all the time. The culture, and I also was meeting a lot of Palestinian people. So heard the story from, like, at the beginning it was a myth kind of thing that it was like at school, let's say, there was no conversation about it at all. It seems like history started in 1948.
Mm-hmm.
And just now when I'm speaking with my mother and she kind of feeling forced because she doesn't know if she will live in the next hour, so she kind of sharing about our story. And like my story is like that my grandfather, he walked from Yemen as an orphan kid. He was a Jew orphan kid, and he was sent with other kids through the desert of Yemen to Egypt. Then they were stuck in Egypt. Then they managed to he was 8 when he arrived to Palestine at 1911. And
Wow.
this all information I get now when I'm 31. And finally my mom is speaking and telling me, and I'm not speaking about my father's side because my father and I, we didn't have time to speak about this side. I wish I will know more, but there's no access for me. Like, and to reconnect to it, it's too risky for my body and soul. So I feel like I have like I know that there was, like I cannot ignore it. I'm sorry, like with all the, I just feel this is the right way.
Yeah.
And also coming to Berlin, I met so many people here from so many different places, and I love stories and I love to listen. And the more I listen, the more I learn that I'm not the only one with a story.
Wow. Yeah, that's definitely a story. And I think I mean, yeah, this must be a very challenging time. Maybe not challenging, but just a lot, right? Like a very sensitive time because, there's this conflict, but then your own history is coming out too. Like, I can definitely understand that that's a lot to be happening and just a very conflicting space to be in, right? So yeah, I mean, that's again just very grateful for your openness around the discussion.
Yeah, I just like really, really, really hope something will change. I told you before, I feel that I had this dream in me, that one day this will come out and the world will help us. Like sometimes it's like two siblings fighting all the time, and then you have to have the adult to get involved and say like, you go to your room and you go to your, like, and let's speak about it, let's talk about, and like, and think about it. And I think like the patriarchy in all this area is just like, I can speak only about these areas because I didn't see the world yet. So I'm not going to speak about any other continents or places. I can speak about this. Lost control. Like there was so many conspiracies and so many ideas and stories. And I think like also there's social media, there's a lot of like ads and money in to feed you. And yeah, I found this very tricky to have my own voice, like my own thoughts, because you are fed with information. And so I decided that I want to speak more with people, to explain them who I am, where I'm come from, and then after that they can judge me. I thought it would be easier like that.
Yeah. I mean, and yeah, unfortunately, that's just sometimes human nature. But I mean, I think that the really beautiful thing is that like the openness to judgment, right? It's like, okay, because again, it's just this groundedness. It's really at the end of the day, it's like I am who I am, right? It's another act of like honoring, this is me, this is my journey, this is my story, this is where I come from. And you can judge me, you can judge me all you want. This is like who I am, right? That act of honoring, this is me. And so
Yeah,
I think that,
none of it can change.
yeah.
The only wish that I have is that people will help us to talk about those things and find like healthier ways to solve it.
Yeah.
I'm following this movement. It's called Standing Together. Maybe you know them. That
No,
are
I don't.
really, you should check on Instagram or whatever. I think I was speaking lately with I have a lot of Palestinian friends here also in Germany, and like we are not blaming each other. We're sitting and crying because we all grieving.
Yeah.
We all lost someone we love, if
Yeah.
not more than one. And every year it's like this.
Yeah.
We're not talking about this is just now the whole world is part of it, because so I just hope the world will help us and not divide us anymore, because we don't need more hate. And
right. Yeah. I think it's that
of
coming
course
together.
there's place for critics, and we need the critics. We need it to be able to learn, but also to understand that there's so much trauma. And be gentle.
I think I really hear that. And I think this kind of idea that everyone's grieving, and how can we come together with this grief or in this grief, right? And how can we hold that space and then create a solution or create an action from that? And I think, I think that we've just been conditioned to believe that that's so hard because, things like patriarchy and all these just engraved biases. But I think that there's a lot more power in each of us individually, that if we were to come together in that way, there could be something else that we could create. And so I think that's really
Only
beautiful.
Only together. And like this is the only way we still have the power. Like it's still like supposed to be a democracy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think like the more we speak, the more we unlearn, the more we heal ourselves, understand why we think like this, why, like, there's so many things that I learned through therapy while I'm speaking my mind out, and I'm hearing like things that have been told to me, or like I said, and I'm like, yo, like these parents fucked us up. Like I really wanted kids, but I'm just thinking about like how much damage I'm gonna make.
I mean, like I hear that sentiment, I think, but I mean, at the end of the day, like, they were also like, that's their trauma too, right? Like they were
Yeah,
also
like that's what I'm saying.
it's
Like
like, even like, we are in a generation where we can understand it. And I think even the generations like after us, that awareness just keeps growing. And so it's like, yeah, back to that whole idea, we all are just kind of doing our best. And I think realistically, we actually are doing our best together, because we see these shifts like in generations, right? So even though it's like each of us in our own individual journey, we're still kind of shifting generationally, right? So this idea of like individual healing and collective healing, individual liberation and collective liberation, right? Like these things do work together.
Yeah. Yeah, and also don't give up on, like, on, I mean, if you abused hardcore, and it's, of course, like, there's no space for it. But for example, like with my mom, like there's a lot of things we disagree on. You know, from her perspective, she had like the education that she got and where she come from. Oh, so we had a lot of, like, even politically we were disagreeing about a lot of things, you know, and it created such a gap between us. But I always like kept on trying to translate her and trying to, you know, really asking every time, like, share with me a bit about, because I wanted to understand, you know. And as soon as you understand what your parents went through, you have space for forgiveness, because it makes sense suddenly. Suddenly you're like, okay, I know that my mom, she was 19 with 2 kids.
Yeah.
You know? I'm 31, barely can handle my own hair. You know, like, what the fuck? I need to just tell her, like, thank you and kiss her feet, you know. This is how, the more she shared, the more I cherish these moments with her, the more I can understand, forgive, for myself, for her, yeah, you know, like, a lot of times in my life I was feeling like I'm here and nobody really wanted me here, like, because they all abused me, sent me from here to there, you know, like, yeah, luckily I had a voice, so I could kind of like catch a train here again, like, catch, you know, like, make myself work, and people loved me because I was entertaining and funny, and like I could do magic tricks, you know. And so I managed to get somewhere. But like when I told her, like, it was, I think, in May, I went to her and I asked her, like, okay, like, I want to know everything, like, how did I get to this planet, like, I want to know. And then when she told me that she never wanted, like, to have me, like, it was a forced act, you know. She never enjoyed the sexual experience. Then I understand, as a woman today, I understand what it means. And then I understand why it was the whole experience of me in the belly from the first home, like what I went through and how I got out and why this whole energy was around me. Though today she's like, you're the best and you're amazing, and she's super grateful to have me and all this, you know. But I remember, my body remember, my brain remember. So the more I learn, the more the puzzle kind of like, and I can be nicer to myself.
Right. I'm just silent because sometimes I just think silence is the only answer, you know. Like, no. Yes, I think that's also a very beautiful message. I want to get back to, because I know, so you were in the army for your 2 years, and then you had, because I think this is kind of where you started realizing, you know, I guess your own potential as an artist, right? I think this was towards the end of your experience in the army, and then how that eventually led you to Berlin.
Yeah, so I was in the army. I met amazing musicians, and one of them was a friend of mine, and she got selected to try to represent Israel in the Eurovision. And then she asked me, I want to do some backing vocals. I was like, yeah, well, you know, like, so we tried. Then we find ourselves in Sweden. Everything happened really, really fast, and then I saw for the first time what means, like, international career, like, like red carpet, and it's like the biggest stage and the most amazing sound, and Sweden known as like amazing musicians, and it was really, I met people from all around the world, and it was a really great experience for me. I also didn't have a lot of responsibility. I had maybe 2 lines. So, I enjoyed. I met a lot of people, and and then in the army, like we had also the option to have a rehearsal room. So if we had some free time, we could just do whatever we want in the rehearsal room. So slowly I gathered together like a little band, and it was 5 people. And then we, like, right away when I finished, I was like booking myself a show. Let's see, like, boom, it was sold out. I was like, I think it was 300 people, and it wasn't even known. Like, it was just a lot of people that I met just came and bought a ticket. It was crazy feeling. I even have the poster, and I have me playing like a guitar that I never played guitar before, but for the photo I did it, you can see that I hold the strings not in the right way, but so it was naive, I wanted to look like a rock star, like I want, and it worked. And I think till today people not understanding how much this game is fake it till you make it, like it's really just like this, like most of the things are just it's how to make it look good. And yeah, so I finished, I did this, I had this band. I already started like working, booking myself shows, like just sending 30 emails a week, like to different kind of places. Bam, 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 made myself a little booking. I started like performing. Then my friend was like, you have to do this TV show. I was like, yeah, this is the only way for you to succeed. Like for someone like you with your story, not everybody will like you. I was like, okay. Like I did also the auditions for that. I got in. Then I found myself in the final. Like everything happened really fast. A roller coaster. Like it was crazy. I think the first night that it was on TV, I didn't have a TV even.
Wow.
I had like a room. I was in an apartment that I found with 2 roommates, and like I had my bed on the floor, nothing like set, and just such a difference, on you on the TV. And then I remember I got in from work. I worked the whole day, and I had the dog back then, and she pooped in the bedroom, and I just got in and flipped on the poop, and my phone, from the stress, because the phone, I got messages, and my phone was like, because you're on prime time. And I slipped on the poop, on the pee, and this fell, and my phone broke. And for the whole season, I didn't have literally like a phone, like a good phone, to do social media. Like this is how the like you are on the TV, but you are broke as hell. So this is like the music business. It's like there's difference between making music and being famous. And it's different careers as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is I did this reality show. I got to the final. I managed to sing like my own original song. I was like, if I'm gonna get, I was in the semi-final, and I was like, I want to sing my original song because I'm a singer-songwriter, and they didn't want to let me, and I was insisting, and I was like, if I'm going home, I prefer to go home with my own song. And then it turned to be like a really big hit. So everything worked in my direction. And then right after, I was signing like in a major label, and it was like in the newspaper, like she's here to stay, and promises and the whole thing that I came with like almost 100 songs written already, and how like it was like already signed for like few albums, and I'm a kid, like I was 20. I was excited. I was so naive that I took a lawyer from the label company. Like, this is how naive I was. Like, yeah, they want to help me, so they organized me a lawyer, you know. Absolutely wrong. Uh, so I signed on this dragon contract, we call it. And yeah, then I experienced there like a very awful situation with one of the leaders of the label, like sexual abuse. And then I felt like the ground is just underneath my feet is opening, and I just want to, squeeze in, because I was on the TV, on the radio, on this, and then going to the restaurant, and people like look at me like, and I'm like, yeah, what do you want to order? Like, it's me, like, let's move on. Like, yeah, then I just couldn't anymore. Like, with this, it at the beginning, when all the abusement started, I was like, yeah, okay, maybe just like this, and then at some point I couldn't breathe anymore. And I said, it doesn't worth it. And even if it means that I need to start again from zero, it's better to do it than to walk with people that are literally want to hurt you or to use you in a certain way. So yeah, decided to end this. Right before that, I got like a show in Berlin. For this organization called Vizo, that is basically an organization that help women and kids and families that has like problems, more like to try to be like in between them and the government social network that sometimes is very cruel and cold and separating a lot of kids from their family. And sometimes all they need is just help and support, and then the kids can still grow with their parents. So this kind of organization was really helping us when we were kids, and my mom was part of like not teaching, kinder, I don't know how to say it in English, kinder teacher, kids teacher.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they invited me, and when I saw it, the title, I was like, yeah, this is like, could be a cool circle. If I can go now as myself and like sing to get some money for this organization after they like helped me in the past, so it would be a nice circle. And I did it, and that was the first time I was like, wow, I can sing in any kind of language. I sang back then in my mother tongue, in Hebrew, and people still excited. People feel me. And then that was the first time I was like, maybe I'm just gonna move. And yeah, 2 months later, I cut everything. And yeah, I moved away. And I did it kind of like without telling a lot of people, and without like sharing with my audience. Because it was very tricky situation with the whole label, and I didn't want anyone to ask any questions. So yeah, but it allowed me to start fresh. And I will never forget these moments that I got here, and I took a deep breath, and it was cold, and this area was like the Europe air. It was like, it's different. And nobody knew me. It was a big relief. Yeah. Then I started here, and I'm here almost 8 years. Still hustling. But yeah, for now, this is the only place that I can be with a visa and accept me, and I can do my things, and I managed to get to know amazing people, like really shaped me. But a lot of people that live in Berlin, they say this, like that they completely, Berlin changed them for good.
And so for you, yeah, Berlin was just that like fresh start, I guess, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I felt back then, I was like, I was very motivated, because right when I got here, I found this amazing family that they are musicians and successful musicians, and I was like seeing them, how they, how their routine, and I was au pair and with the kids, and we were traveling Europe and completely new. Yeah, I was working really hard, like 12, 16 hours sometimes, like a day, and sometimes night shifts and all this, but I was like, I knew how much I earned, and I had all the time like kids around me, that in Berlin is very, you don't have the sun, and for me it was like my son, like these kids, just to come and be like, hi, they're just happy, and this is kind of like we exchange this energy and created a lot of music. Also, because they are musicians, they really, really allowed me to make music as well. Like, so for example, with the kids, sometimes the kids were sitting and I was in the piano. I never had a piano, but they have like a huge piano in the living room, so I was all the time like, playing, and then they were connecting me with people and really helped me to get where I am today. Till today, like they're coming to all my concerts and supporting, and yeah, it's like, I think like the big lesson I'm learning, how important it is to have a chosen family. Because there's a lot of friends. I don't know a lot of people that can tell me like, wow, my family is like amazing and perfect. Like, maybe two people I know that like their family is great, and also might be that they just shape reality as is, but a lot of people have a lot of problems with their own blood family, and I'm saying like chosen family is so important, to see that it's possible to to be different, and that you are acceptable as you are.
Yeah, I appreciate that a lot. That you are acceptable the way that you are. And I think that those sort of like realizations can only really come like from what you're describing, right? Like this new environment, this new, I want to say the word safety, but I don't even mean safety from the perspective of, I mean, obviously the conditions you grew up were not safe, but I mean safety in that, like, just the ability for you to feel safe in the body and for the body to feel safe to be yourself. Does that make sense? Do you know what I mean? Because,
Yeah,
like they're
absolutely.
two different things, but I think that's the safety that I think is like very important, that I don't know if we all acknowledge that properly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. There's also you can find safe spaces. Also, it doesn't have to be like so big. Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like it can be a moment in a day.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to
Yeah.
not feel safe the whole day, and
Right.
never ever. It makes a lot of sense, especially when we see that there's a lot of damages in the world, and a lot of people of suffering that make other people suffer, and a lot of access to different kinds of guns and other kinds of.
Yeah.
So finding people or moments or small, even one song that can make you feel safe for 3 minutes 20, just yeah, a lot, like finding these things that make you feel safe, even if it's just for a second a day. Like I think kids make me feel very, very safe because they're so honest that it's
Mhm.
just like you have to, to really get their love, you have to be in the same level with them
Yeah.
of honesty. Otherwise, you will suffer.
Yeah.
They will make sure you will suffer.
Yeah.
But
Um,
yeah, I think
absolutely.
small moments, and less expectations. I think.
Um, and I think real quick, just to, maybe close off on these next few minutes here, maybe getting a little bit more into Berlin and the artistry, how that, I'm sure, I would imagine some of it probably has to do with that sense of safety, right? Now you have the freedom, the ability to create as you want to, right? But I know you've had some very, very fascinating projects. I know you've got your
Yeah,
single coming out, but I know, you've done the film production. So maybe if you want to spend a few minutes telling us about those projects as well.
yeah. I'm actually, as I said, I never study in any place,
Mhm.
so everything I did is kind of like study from the environment, or because I had to jump to the pool. And so the film production, it was like really COVID hits, and
Mhm.
that was the only industry that kept on working. And I was in this space that I really, really wanted to release music. But I have no idea how to do music videos. So I was very curious and started like to reach out to people. I'm a very reach out person. Like people tell me like, how you do all the things? I'm like, I'm sending emails
Yeah.
like all the time. So I'm reaching a lot of people. I see their work online and I'm like, okay, that's cool. Like, hi, can I help? Can I come work for free? Like, can I do something? I have this, I'm good with cooking. I'm good with this. I'm good with this. I can do administration. And slowly I got a lot of like very quick, like jobs to work for free. Everybody will give you a job. And I got all these like gigs, and very fast, I got a paid gig, like, and then it was my first production. I was like, oh fuck, like so much to do. And I ask a lot of questions, like even if it's really stupid. I think this is also a rule that I do. I ask and not assume. This is something that I'm trying to really practice. Um, so I ask a lot of questions, got a lot of answers, research, Google, a lot. And then in COVID time, I did so many projects. Like I remember they started the live streaming, so I called my friend. I was like, let's go on YouTube and just learn how to do this. And then a month after, we did like the biggest festival, jazz festival in live stream, like so many bands, and the festival won the best in Germany, like
Wow.
live stream. Like it's really, was really insane. And everything is about like taking a risk, I would say. I think in production is like how to smaller the risk. Like
Mhm.
the risk is so big that you have to just like kind of all the time make the risk smaller. At the beginning I did a lot of mistakes, took too many risks. Today there's no chance that I will take like like no, I learned with the hard way, with losing money, with losing people, especially in COVID time when your director can have COVID and everything is kaput
Mhm.
in 1 second. So yeah, that's when I started in COVID. I really built my portfolio, and there was a lot of jobs in this field. Then I had this idea about doing like a little festival, 50 Minutes of Fame, when I talked with my friend and we together executed. It was amazing, like really, really crazy successful year from the production point of view. And then I became a film producer. Uh, and since then, uh, all my friends, like, I think I really like the people in
Mhm.
the film industry. They are so I missed it in the music industry. In the music industry, everything is like better you do yourself. Like you need to do everything yourself. You need to, and in film, like there's so many, like everything, like every person is important, and it can really. I love working in like 30 people with 60 people, and
Yeah.
just be together and create this like one moment that everybody is like. It's very similar, and I think like I kind of in COVID time I kind of looked for a different kind of stage, and this allowed me to have a different stage. Um, yeah, in the behind the scene, but still like conducting on everything and making sure the energy is right. And yeah, so I did this and took a long time. Like I think like all my friends like always saying like you always say the last project you're gonna do, and then you call me for another job and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I'm trying now to just say more no, and because it's very hard for me to say no because of my trauma. But I'm trying just to really like limit it. 30 projects a year, like do 10. Like no need to have all the time, like because when you're running out of time, you're also running out of money, and it's just and burnout.
Yeah.
It's huge amount of pressure, much more than music. Music is fun compared to film. Yeah, crazy field. But yeah, I managed to do like now the last job of the year. I got a project for Greenpeace that they also call Green Planet Energy, and it's I would say between a commercial to a music video. It's a music video with commercial energy, I would say, and basically I was very surprised. All the people that worked on this project, they didn't even know about this company. And I was like, I'm paying 50 euro a month already for 3 years for this company just because I one time spoke with these people. I didn't tell them no. I wasn't walking like, I was just one time just talk with them. And then they showed me about this company. Great company, like the electricity works the same. Like it's even cheaper and it's green and people don't know about it. And so I was happy that even in this project 30 people already know about this company, like that was big achievement. And then I have to say that usually when we work with clients they are very demanding, but this time like we had so much artistic freedom. I love it. I just let me do what I want. Like that's all I ask, And we managed. The director created such a beautiful story, that we executed in a really beautiful way. And in this hard time, just to do something that is like really for a better future. That is, I think, this is like a really important topic to speak about. Like, yeah, of course, there's a lot of wars and stuff, but let's speak for a second about the planet. Like, we are literally took all the resources and all the layers, the protections from this planet, from this ball. Like, the only thing that we have to do is to change to green energy. This is the only way. So yeah, we can speak about like, yeah, you are Jewish and you are this and you are Muslim and you are this. At the end of the day, guys, like if we are not gonna take care of the planet, it doesn't even matter. Like we're gonna be washed away or burned away, or like, and people has to start understanding that it's not a myth. This is like reality, and it's small changes that we can do. And even if it costs you €5 more, wouldn't you invest €5 more to have a better future? Like, just like ask this question. I think because I grew up with 5 siblings, I didn't have the privilege to have anything new in my life. Everything was second or third or 10th hand. I always say like this shoes that has lights. in the bottom. So I always got them without the light.
Yeah.
Until they got to it, there was no lights anymore. So, like, buying new is not something that I think I didn't buy clothes for such a long time. And I swear I have so much clothes. Like, just, I don't want to hurt anyone, and anyone money, but stop buying clothes. Like, just, there's no need for that.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much, like, new clothes, like this. No. Yes, there are certain things that I'm trying to do to, like, for me, I'm not eating animal product, but some people do, and it's fine, no judgment. But I'm just thinking, like, just think about why we have cows. Not if it's tasty or not. This is not the conversation. It's like, really just check what's the role of cow in the system, you know? Maybe some of it is just not, people just don't know, and it's fine. I also didn't know before I checked. So just like, there is a reason why those animals are here.
Yeah. Everything and everyone has its purpose.
Yeah, there's like, the world works with harmony perfectly without human. Perfectly. Years and generations. Our involvement is great, but we need to understand that it comes with responsibility. So, are we choosing to be part of nature, or are we choosing to go against it? And if we really think we are so powerful, like, unfortunately, like, gonna be like a very bad end. And I think everybody feels right now kind of like it's the end of the world. So I think, like, yeah, might be. And that's why we feel this way. So let's just not ignore it.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. And I think that's a really beautiful message to close off with. Everything has its purpose. And just considering our own actions and our own purposes and our responsibility. I really like that a lot.
Yeah, and towards each other as well.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Yeah, self-love, of course, but also, like, we have to be there for each other.
Yeah.
There's no other way.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Aya, for coming on the show.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you for sharing the story. Thank you for all the insights. And I think especially thank you as a woman for showing your power. You know, I think it's really incredible for everybody.
Thank you for amplifying me and for choosing me. And thank you for doing it. I know it's not easy to be honest and speak, and I felt like in this conversation that you gave me so much, like, space to be myself. So thank you for that. And I hope it will reach the right ears, you know, and
I appreciate that.
Influence a tiny bit of even one person, you know.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, dear.